this is huge. This is huge. And I'm like, I don't want to say I'm starstruck because I've known you for a while, but I'm always starstruck because she's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You deserve it. You earned it. You're still earning it. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to ask Bahamadia a couple questions, and then we're gonna open the floor up. So this section, if you're looking back at your agendas, this section is about interviews, right? So the process of what we're gonna do for the next couple things is we're gonna do an interview right now, and then I'm gonna break down a little bit more about the concept of doing interviews with you all. So I think we should start off by giving people a little bit of background about yourself. That's not in the bio.
I don't know where to begin because I'm usually not accustomed to talking about myself. Wow. Authentic Philadelphian, born and raised here. In my first regional success in 1993, single funk vibe. Got my first recording deal internationally in 1996. Went through DIY in 2000, I think, or 2004, something like this. It's a blur. Toured extensively for the last few decades. Worked with disenfranchised youth. I'm a parent of mine. Oh, I just appeared on Project Runway. What day was that?
I saw that.
My son's a designer, Majin Wong, and he got picked to be one of the cast members on. Well, I'm getting ready to get emotional. Yeah, I found out by surprise. But come to find out, like me talking to you people guys, he told me just a few months ago that he had been studying my business model of things, what to do, what not to do, out of the clear blue sky one day. And now he got that call. So, so I'm a proud parent with two. What else? On my own record label, Big Girl Records, writer, producer, and I don't want to say novice. I guess I could probably. Record collector. Oh man, all around big girl, big lady. And tastemaker, and happy to be here, everybody. Happy to be here.
So how did you start on that path of getting into the business? So this is turned into your career, but how did you start on that path? So was it something that you knew that you wanted to get into this business?
Well, I was fortunate enough coming up in my household to have, to be nurtured, like to be a free spirit, like a liberal thinker. My mother was a visual artist, and my father was an entrepreneur. And so it was just normal for us, I have one sibling, it was normal for us to express ourselves. My sister went to Philadelphia, and I went to Settlement House of Music for a stint to study percussion before I got introduced to hip hop in its earliest stages, and I started DJing, and then I started writing poetry, and that evolved into becoming a songwriter, MC, and all it is. But it was factory equipment, just having a support system at home initially, and the living example that if you set your mind to something, work hard, dedication, and train yourself, you can eventually, your dreams can become reality. So that was normal for me. But how I started professionally, after I had my first child, I had kind of like a little bit of a dark background at one point. I was in the streets a little bit, and I had like 2 open cases. And wow, I lived so many different lives. I ran into one of my childhood friends from art school. Well, he's in my art class actually, and he asked me, was I still doing? You still DJing? You still doing this and that? I was like, oh yeah. Oh, I'm rapping now. Running to him. He introduced me to this collective called Bird's Nest Productions, where at the time they had Boys the Men Steady. A lot of different people would come through us up Southwest Philly. A lot of different people who was at that particular era, in that era, was coming through, like doing production. Even people like Harris, one and different people like that too. Because this was around the pop art era when a lot of people don't know, but Lawrence Goodman, he had this label called Pop Art. I think it was at Winfield, in that area. And a lot of the different hip-hop superstars at the time, they would come through to Philly to record and stuff like that. And this was one of the primary markets where all the hip-hop stuff got broken at the time. It's like 3 different markets. This was one of, like the second one. It was New York, then here. And I think it was Jersey, too. Yeah. So then from there, that's how I honed my recording skills, like learning how to write, breathe, or recording the whole process. From there, I recorded a single, Funk Vibe, in 1993. That caught the ears of different major labels and stuff like that from being regional and getting charted. This was before like videos, and I think they had images, urban expressions, exactly, on that era, exactly. Right. They were a great support too. That evolved into a bit and war at the time, and I chose to go with Gangstar because I felt like that was the best fit for me, being a purist hip hopper, and just the music, the jazz soundscape and everything kind of fit my vocal tones and stuff. So I went with them, did that for a few years, and then went out of that situation because I had begun to learn the business of music, but I didn't learn it from the people that to say that had me a part of the corporate cog at the time. I learned it from people behind the scenes, like the receptionists, the gophers, like the people that people thought wasn't important. You know, I kind of built alliances with those people because even though when I was in the streets I was perceived as being a popular person, but I really was a loner and like a nerdy type of person, but just not in the package traditionally people would think. And so I always had a heart for the underdog in that aspect. And I had a diverse group of people that I, would consider like to be cool with. I don't want to say friends, but just people I was cool and associated with from various backgrounds. Saying that to say that sometimes your blessing and your connection comes from unlikely places, And to make a long story short, I began to get educated about the business of music and what my position entailed as an artist and how much power you actually have with this whole team of people behind you that are hired to make you popular. But you're not doing it by yourself. It's not just about your artistry. It's about the team of people that are assembled to help you that reality becomes that much more effective in the markets. So I learned that, firsthand, And when I did that, I was like, yo, I should own. This is the only industry in terms of music where if you buy a house or you buy a car, your name is on that deed or that lease. How come you don't own the masters, or how come you don't own 100% of your publishers? It's your intellectual property. And that made me want to study more. And plus, besides that, being a single parent of 2 at this time, I had just had my second son. I'm like, I should own all my stuff. I was 27 years old when I got my first door. I never lied about my age and nothing. I didn't feel like it was necessary. I felt like me being myself enough. My unique self was enough. So it was at least 100,000 people, women or men or whoever from my area or from areas similar to mine coming up that could relate to what I had to say, And this was a time when the labels and the marketing people and everything, like, you gotta remember, this is the industrialized time. You're in the information age now. But back then, all the things we can do on our phones, they had departments of people that would do those things. So imagine like coming from the streets, very humble beginnings, and transitioning, like I didn't even know the language, like my first deal too. Once I started finding out the ins and outs of everything, I went and bought this book called All You Need to Know About the Music Business by Donald Passmore. I don't know how many editions it is in now, but back in the day, okay, I've had like the first or second one so you can tell how long ago it was. But marked it up, I was so naive to negotiating. But coming from the streets, I was like, yo, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. I ain't know nothing about coaching and I wasn't coached. So I took the book, it's crazy. I took the book to a meeting we had and negotiated from a street perspective at the time. Negotiated like X amount of more dollars for my budget. I didn't even know I was doing, I didn't know people were in place to do that. I didn't know what the position of management was. I didn't know what marketing or any of that stuff was. I didn't know that I was bringing a vision to the table and they was going to implement that as I didn't know any of that. And I was infuriated when I found out that people were in place to being high, they're getting checks that I would have to be recouped out of my funds. I was infuriated when I found out I was being exploited in that way, so that made me even more stubborn. So when the time came for my contracts to be negotiated, I opted out. So I was like, yeah, that's how I discovered this touring circuit, you know, and I started to tour overseas in Sweden and all. That was the first place I ever went, and Germany and everything like that. I did that for several years, and then the contract ran out, and I came back and did radio. That's how I found out about the playlist and all that whole propaganda and the whole payola, that whole thing.
Y'all know what she's talking about when she's, yes?
Yeah.
Some people say no. Some people say no.
I'm talking about like commercial radio. Like people think that, you know, you have a lot of independent artists or DIY artists and you put your own music out, do it yourself. You put your own music out and people still think the traditional outlets are the most effective outlets to get your music out. And they get frustrated because they think it's about you having a song that, you know how whatever songs are out now, like the trap music and stuff like that. Whatever is out currently now, right? The mumble rap, right? I think that's what it is, right? That's the most current trend, right? Okay. But the mass media is designed to support advertising dollars. So they only support the so-called artistry that supports and targets the demographic that they're targeting. So it's not about the art at all, it's just about the bottom line and the numbers. You know what I mean? And people think that, but there's so many different more outlets that you can maximize today with the internet and all of that until they regulate it. But that'll take some time. I lost my train of thought, I'm sorry.
Very good. So I want to ask about, because there's something that I picked up on, and I think some of those individuals are in this room. So when you are a quiet person, or you perceive yourself to be a quiet person, but you need to speak up for yourself, that will help you either in your career or your personal business, what are some strategies that you would share of how they can do that? You know, when somebody's quiet and they're like, and I'm like, I need you to speak up more, and you're just not that person, but you need to speak up because that's how you're going to move to the next level?
I think you just need to surround yourself with a few smart people. Like I learned firsthand that, you know, I was always a very vocal person, A-type personality, so I can be really introverted, but I can be really, you know, challenging too. But that's just the environment that I grew up in. You know, in my household, I was free to be honest, so I just thought everybody else went by those guidelines until I realized that I had kind of like garnered a reputation for being challenging to work with. But challenging consisted of, me being defined as being challenging was me speaking up for myself, me asking questions, me knowing that I should get X amount of dollars for shows and not compromising that, me knowing that, you know, being a woman, even if I am, you know, do have an androgynous appeal, if I want to get pretty, and y'all have to have a budget for that, there's a budget for everything, and I won't compromise that. If you know, at the time when my children were still in primary school and going into junior high and high school, I don't care what I'm doing or how much money is on the table. I need to be at that recital. I need to be at that, you know, at that graduation. Bags in tow, I got to be there, you know. And just learning also, like I said, the power that you entail as an artist, because these people are hired. They're in place to work for you. You know, a lot of people don't understand that because a lot of artists leave a lot of the responsibility up to their team. You know, and I don't think that that's such a clever idea when at the end of the day it's your livelihood and your life and your legacy that's at stake. You know. So some of the things that I did when researching, like I said, for me, what helped me most was having a buffer, because I don't be having no filter when it come down to my heart what I know to be right. But I had to learn, it wasn't what I was saying, it's just the way that you say it. And I had to also learn that everything doesn't warrant your time or energy. You know, that was the most valuable, and I just learned that a few years ago. You know, everything is not to be challenged, you know, not verbally, not directly. So like I said, that was through my association with, you know, aligning myself with people that ideally this is how I envision myself being in person, for their personality trait, a characteristic, you know, over time. That helped. And then educating myself about negotiations, you know, what that protocol entails, understanding that there's no such thing as a deal that can't be negotiated. If you want to work something out, you can. It might take longer, but, you know, if two parties are willing to meet fairly and justly, you can do that. And not to take anything personal, because at the end of the day, sometimes, a lot of the time, it's not even personal. It's just happening in so-called business.
What, my guess is that you get approached about different business opportunities throughout your career.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, what's your process for deciding if something is good for Bahamadia or not good for you?
My sensibilities, and especially if it's products. Like I would sensibly want to know I would actually do the research to find out, because certain things, certain morals and ethics may not line up with what I think is fair, what I think is just. And they may have the money. It's been plenty of times, and I've been in financial ruin like 3 times in my life. I mean, literally, one time I had literally like maybe, oh my gosh, probably like $4. But I was not going to compromise myself. I just could not do it. I actually, like at one point, I actually dusted off my resume and went back to work, because I just would not compromise myself, because I knew, first of all, it wasn't in me to do it. The second thing was the legacy that I was leaving as a single parent, mother, a black woman, and 2 boys. Like, I just could not do that. So, but what did you want to know specific? Because you're not getting rambling.
No, I'm just wondering, so like, I guess as it relates to these folks in here, is that they might have a really great idea, right? And sometimes people are going to come at you and they're going to want to latch on to that idea, right? And once people see that you're in a good space, they're going to start coming at you with like, oh, I want a partner. And like Yusuf was saying earlier, and Taib said, Megan has said, there's going to be times when that's not the right fit for you. So somebody's going to say, you might say no, you might get a no, but it's because they're not in the space to help or whatever. So I guess the reason why I'm asking that question is like, somebody might want to do like a liquor thing, sponsorship with you, and my sense is that's not you, right? So
that's
like,
not me. I don't even drink. So for me, it's just about like, I'm really transparent. Like what you see is really what you get, like on and off the camera. Just, you know, I don't drink, so why would I advocate alcohol? You know, why would I do that? You know, but for me, it's as simple as that. I just align myself with the things that mirror how I do in my day-to-day life. You know what I mean? And I tend to partner with people that have similar sensibilities. Like I'm never, it's a phrase, I'm unequally yoked. I don't believe in doing it, because it's just you're even on a spiritual level. You know what I mean? Like, all money ain't good money to me. So like I said, the last time I was in financial ruin, you know, and I had gotten an offer like a number that was very, you know, it was crazy. but in my soul, I knew it wasn't the right thing, and I think that's selling out. I mean, when people say you're selling your soul, we are. If you're an artist and you're artistically inclined and you sign contracts or you want to be in business for yourself, you are selling yourself. But it's just that with the conditions that you put on it, you know, or you selling your integrity. Because we all business people. Everybody wants, there's nothing noble about, especially if you have a bigger agenda. Like, you know how people, for our causes or, you know, different things that affect us socially and stuff like that, like the revolution has to be financed. So it's nothing noble about, you know, you having to have a GoFundMe account to finance something that you could have not compromised and got the right, you know, money that you was owed in the first place, to negotiate in the first place to help support that cause. Because everything is kind of like runs together, you know what I mean, in that aspect, you know. It's like, you know, the lack of financial literacy in our communities, you know, where this person, especially the people that are in traps and stuff like that, like, there's no way you should be having on like $2,500 sneaks, and then at the end of the day, if you pass, we gotta have a fish fry for you.
Right.
You know, like, that's disgusting to me, and it's disgusting in the lifestyle and the association, because a lot of our resources leave the communities. You know what I mean? But then the burden becomes, if you stay, you're the resource for everybody. And I was the matriarch of my family. I had to hold my whole family down. you know. And I think just as a woman and as an entrepreneur, I had to be that much more harder. Like I even had to to a huge degree denounce my femininity to the way I present myself, because I wanted you to look at the spirit of the person and respect me for my business acumen. Because I knew that if I let my hair grow out, and this is how I was, because I wasn't coached. And I had healthy role models, feminine role models and male role models. It was like patchy, though, it wasn't consistent in my life, but for me, I felt like it was sink or swim, so I'm going to have to just be this, this is the attitude on, this is the show I'm going to have to put on when I go on these board meetings, but it was a piece of cake because I'm a survivor of the crack era. Like in my era when I was a young buck, crack was being introduced. It's second run because it was ICE at first. It was being introduced to our communities. So I saw that devastate our family structure, so if you could survive that without becoming the victim of that particular snare, you know what I mean? The boardroom wasn't gonna be nothing, so, but that was with no team. That was just really with the grace of God. I really have to give that to the Creator, because in hindsight, I don't even see how I was able to stay afloat without their support, But I mean, but would I do it again? Yes, I would, because if I would take a chance on anything, it's always going to be on myself.
I know, that's right.
You deserve that. Everybody here, everybody that's ever born on this planet at whatever period deserves that one shot for themselves. So I hope that, if I'm an inspiration to anybody, anywhere, anybody's ever heard my artistry new, if you just becoming new to it or just crossing paths with me or whatever, I hope I inspire you to become more of who you were created to be. Your authentic selves,
What is something that, and I'm going to open it up to you guys in a second, because you've been on just an interesting path and experiences, what is something that you know now that you would tell your younger self?
Wow. Slow down. I would tell my younger self to slow down. And it is okay, so it's okay to be human. It's okay to get emotional within reason, Those are two things that I would say to myself. And save, because at one time I was just a squanderer. I was. Because I was trying to think about anything else, and I don't think so. Because I probably wouldn't be the person that I am if I thought to change or try to think I should change too much about myself. I learned to just be comfortable in my own skin, unapologetically, except for when I'm being angry. I learned how to let that anger go, though.
That's fair. What questions do you guys have? All right. I know you got some. Hold up.
So I'm really happy.
Say your name.
Okay, Kyla Monet. I'm really happy you came because I was wondering to ask this question all morning. So as a woman in the industry, especially a woman of color, and you mentioned it, two stereotypes came in my mind. It's the Jezebel stereotype and it's the Sapphire. And you mentioned denouncing your femininity in order to appear a certain way and just not to be seen as over-sexualized, especially in our industry. We are hypersexualized. And how did you navigate that, as well as avoiding the angry black woman stereotype within the industry, being specific about what you want, being anal about your craft, as you should be, because it's your craft and you're taking a chance on yourself. So how do you navigate those two stereotypes within the industry as a woman?
I tried to mask it by moving in a very neutral way, without compromising, myself so much, and I'm saying that to say, if I had an opinion, I knew that my opinion counts. I knew that coming in, I wasn't ever going to compromise what I knew to be true for myself. That kind of helped. Wow. I don't know, because it just makes me emotional to think that, when you know how you're going through something and you don't realize what's happening to you when you're doing it because it's normal for you. I didn't even realize that I was that trauma, because it was normal, because I had so many layers on me coming from the streets to that, And that's another thing too. The interesting part, though, I think, and it showed up in my performance. I might have physically relinquished that part, so or as much as I thought I could to cope as my coping mechanism, but you would see it in my performances, you could hear it in my vocal tones, because I was not going to let that part of myself go, that part of my femininity. I'm a woman, so I'm like, okay, I can do it this soft tone, that's why my stuff was always like in a whispered tone or the subject matters and stuff like that, because that was me expressing, releasing that part of myself, because I felt like I couldn't do it in any other circumstance at that time. It was challenging, though. I know I was a piece of work. I was, I used to be snapping.
You can tell you too cool.
It's always one extreme with the next, though. It's one extreme with the next. I try not to let the other person out. But now I got other things. And that's another thing, activities too, because like when you're, people like us, we're creatives. So, creative energy is reproductive energy too, so we're very sexually innate too. So how do you harness that when if you're using it from a very more productive stance? You gotta disperse that energy at different things. So I started doing more activities. But just get myself involved in things that would keep me I'd be so worn out, my itinerary was so, full till I was just exhausted. I ain't had time for, nothing else. I hope I'm answering your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
Kate?
Yeah, Keith, you mentioned that you're a mother of two, and then you travel, you do all of these things. So I'm just interested how you managed to balance that, and what things did you incorporate in your life, or things you already had in your life that made balancing your career and being a mother, just how did you do that?
I just had an amazing, and that's what I'm saying, in hindsight, my mom transitioned in 2012, but she was just an amazing person. I really honestly thought that the way my sister and I was raised in our household, I thought that was normal. I thought that everybody was afforded that support. I thought that everybody was, encouraged to be themselves. I did not know that wasn't foreign, that was foreign, because it was learned. So my family, they were just, and I was always like the black sheep of the family. So, they would let her go. She want to wear, let her wear. She want to wear a cape and a crown, let her wear a cape and a crown. That was one of them kind of kids. She wanted to let her be. And I grew up like that. And I was incarcerated. Well, I didn't get sentenced, but I was detained under alias. They couldn't find me. I was pregnant with my oldest son. And I was like, God, if you will show me something that I could do that's going to help me not be this, because I'm about to be this, and my mom and them don't deserve this, because I came from humble beginnings, but it's weird. My dad's side, everybody's affluent. My mom's side is working class, but we had our ups and downs. And then my parents got divorced, so that's when I really started to rebel. But when it happened, after that, beat my cases, ran into my friend Mo Rock. He was a regional artist too. He had 12 inches and stuff out. He was the one that introduced me to the studio I told you about in the Southwest. Did that, and then I just started doing it. One day I told my mom, I was like, I know what I want to do. And she was like, what you want to do, baby? And I was like, I'm going to be a professional rapper. And she was like, go ahead. Just like that. Wow. And from that day forward, when I told them what my stage name was, from that day forward, they addressed me as that in my house. That's the kind of support I had. I didn't even realize, I'm getting emotional, but I'm happy because I didn't even realize how much of a blessing that was, because I thought it was normal. But from that day forward, that's what her name is, that's her name. That's how it was with me. So this, and I instilled that in my children, And hopefully, like I said, the people that I'm inspiring or interacting with, I hope you guys are inspired too. But yeah, that's what happened to me. And then, and I started doing it, and then the things started unfolding. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. And then I did my first record, and it just became a dream. After that, I was in a dream state. After that, my first tour I ever went on, this is how I knew it was this was by design and I was supposed to do this, because the first tour of my whole entire life, imagine coming from the bedroom in the basement recording to, you home and your craft and all of that, because the studio is like a basement makeshift, but it was really nice. But the first tour I ever did in my whole life was when the Fuji sold to 10 million. So imagine coming up when the score came out. So imagine, which in hindsight now, it was the golden era, whatever it's called. When you're a part of that, you don't even realize you're making history and all that. It's just, I'm telling you right now, like today, it's the real me even talking to you guys. I'm just coming down off that dream state from that era to now. We in 2016. I'm 50 years old. 50 years. I know I look good, don't And my point is that when you walking in your God-given path, like what you're created to do from the Creator, you won't be sustained. Like time catch up to you. So in actuality, the dream state probably was that I was operating in eternity, like I'm here and there on some metaphysical whatever. It's just crazy. Like I never lied about my age. I don't do none of that. I just be being I ain't coloring my grain, doing none of that. I'm doing none of that because I know that evolving, I know that embracing every part of myself and every part of the journey is the special part. And we need more people like us that are free thinkers to be ourselves, because you don't know, you might be holding somebody else's destiny up, not being who you're supposed to be. It had to be cool. I'm here. It had to be cool. It's great. I'm telling y'all, wait till y'all get your breakthrough. You're gonna be like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing this. Seriously.
Well, you said like you grew up in a household where you were encouraged to be yourself, and you didn't even realize that there was something that wasn't normal. Like, what was it like when you realized that that wasn't how everybody grew up, or that it's not necessarily the most normal thing to be raised in that type of environment, and there's people in the world that don't see that same type of support on a day-to-day?
When I started stepping outside of my own immediate circle, I started to see it. And then when I started to travel and come back, I was like, why is everybody so different? But it wasn't them, it was me. My perspective had changed from traveling, especially when I started traveling on the board. This was state to state at first. But then you just become a different person. You just become enhanced. And that's what happened. And I felt myself becoming a burden, because I was like, and I started getting sad too, because I was like, people don't realize that they had the same potential. Like, this was about me changing the mindset and the association of decisions that I'm making and supporting me these opportunities, and they don't see that in themselves. So I started to feel guilty. So I would downplay it, because I was like, I don't want to come around nobody and feeling like, I think I'm better than them. Even if you support them, I would do it anonymously. Like, if I found out something was going on, I don't even want to say it, because I was raised to say that if you do something from your heart, you're not even supposed to speak it. But it'd be generous things done, because I felt like that was making up for me being successful. That's not even a healthy place to be.
So would you say you feel like a survivor's remorse?
I don't particularly agree with the term survivor, because I feel like it's about being triumphant over something. That's a little bit different than surviving. I don't have a victim mentality about it. I just didn't have anybody to help me balance out the culture shocks of the success. That's like preparing, you prepare for things in life. You set up plans and stuff and agendas, but you never plan for life to happen for the detours. So when that curveball comes, you rarely, as the people, we historically know how to bounce back. That's by design, though. But so many different areas in our lives, particularly us as women, we don't really have a recourse. So you have to keep going. You don't have the luxury of slowing down, and failure is never an option for people like us. So it's a relief to be able to talk to a group of young people, aspiring people, diverse group of people, men and women. So I know that I'm not alone, because the journey can make you feel like you're alone, That's a lot. And I don't think that being blessed, to be blessed is being blessing, but I think a part of that part of the journey is supposed to be celebrated, So I had to learn how to accept the good fortune, and learn leadership qualities, learn how to balance and delegate those blessings and the responsibility that comes with it, because it's a lot, you know.
Kenny.
I ain't complaining about it. I love it, but it's just a lot.
How you doing?
How
My
you
name
doing?
is Kenny De Niro. I'm an artist and a producer, and I think about stuff like this all the time. I know sometimes when you're like a creative person, well, I'll say creative people and business-minded people sometimes clash, you know, in perspective. So my question to you is, how did you hone in on the ability to like focus on your craft and like gain respect there, but also focus on what it took to be a successful business person at the same time, and also be respected when you walk in those boardrooms the same way you are when you walk in the studio?
Because it's an art to negotiating and communicating as well. So I see everything as art, number one. The second thing is, when you show yourself, like, in order for you, when you get your deal, you start becoming a professional artist, all you're doing is hiring yourself out to express yourself. And nobody can articulate what you feel internally or how you envision or perceive yourself better than you can, but you just have to know yourself. You have to be unwavering in your stance in there. You know, if you're evolving and you're growing, then your art is going to reflect that growth, or it should reflect that growth. Everybody's different, but I'm just saying typically that happens. But you just got to take a stance and know who you are. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be open to constructive criticism or, you know, support in that way, but it definitely should come from a reliable source, meaning that the person should have garnered enough evidence to warrant that kind of authority in your life. It's a very powerful position to have. And everybody, even if you're a leader, you still can be influenced. And energy is transferable too, if you want to get spiritual. So your immediate circle of influence would definitely be people that are going to nurture you, but that you trust enough to know that anything that they tell you is going to, or advise or suggest, is going to be something that's conducive to further advancing what the vision already is.
You talked about performing internationally, like places like Sweden and Germany. What were some of the things, or were there any things that you noticed, especially in the crowd, between like, you know, how you felt people might have been connecting with the culture of hip hop different than you might have seen in America, and at the same time, if there were any language barriers, how would you been able to connect across those lines?
That's how powerful music is, because to me the language was always love. So I can get on stage and never not even know, and not even realize that the crowd didn't even speak English, or if I've been places where I've traveled and didn't even speak the language and still was embracing, still was able to maneuver and do what I needed to do. That's how you can tell how powerful this music is, and that frequency, I think. And besides, I already study like music. When we do music or when we hear music, that's the only like art form, or only I don't even know what to call music. There's so many different things. That's the only activity we can engage in where every part of our brain is operable when we listen to music. Every single part of our brain, left and right, every part of our brain is just created inside our heads. That's how powerful music is, you know. But yeah, it didn't feel like anything. And besides coming from the humble beginning into that, it was all a journey to me. I'm like, oh, I'm going here. Oh, someplace I've never been. Oh, okay, I'm doing this now. You know, it was learn. I'm always learning, and my mind still gets blown all these years. I'm like, wow. It's a great experience, though, it is. But when it come down to that bread, though, get you a translator.
Right.
Translator, get that app and learn currency seriously.
Yep. Yeah. That's all.
So I know a few of us are parents, and here you are too, and you talked about having experienced financial ruin in your career a couple of times. So I wanted to know about, just navigating, trying to be a creative and DIY artist, entrepreneur, and also needing to, put that dinner on the table at night.
It's probably about scheduling more than anything. Because you definitely want to prioritize your first obligations, which is to your family. You know what I mean? Especially if you got children that's still rearing years. After that, it's just about organizing yourself, your time. you're gonna go that much harder, especially if you're an artist. If you're in the studio and stuff, you know you only got like 3 hours in that studio, you're gonna make that work. If you're only in here once a week, but you set a schedule for yourself. And another thing too, if you're able to take a gig, this will help me. If I had to get employed, get a job in the industry that you're aspiring to be in. So even if it's just you, if you're a musician, then you want to get a job maybe at a record store, you know, where they sell instruments at or somewhere like that, you know, something like that. Because you're still around that kind of energy, even if it's in a different capacity. That helps. And then 1 or 2 trusted people that you network and you bounce off of. Because sometimes, even if your family is supportive, there have been conversations that I've had with other musicians or other artists that I couldn't even have with some of the people that are dear to my heart because they just don't understand because they're not creatives in their capacity or that field. So you need somebody that's kind of like a life with you in that way too. You know what I mean? And the support system you needed. But me, even the times that I didn't, I would just take my kids right with me. When I'm on my radio, I did radio too, commercial radio for a few years. I forgot about that. Yeah. But I used to take my kids and my nephew, right, you know, y'all bring y'all, in the shower, y'all gonna do this, and I bring them right there. And they saw what I was doing, because one time my youngest son, he being the matriarch in my family at the time too, my youngest son said to me one time, I hate rap, Mom. I was like, why? And he said because it was stealing me from them. And I was like, they need to see what I'm doing more so they can see. So when I started taking them more consistently and they saw, they was like, we ready to go home now. This what you do all the time. So they did. The trip. But that's what happened to me. But yeah, the Sudan can attest to that. Dad, I can't believe Sudan in here. I got Sudan, I don't need to put you on, I gotta tell my Sudan's mom, y'all know Ursula, you know how amazing Ursula is. Ursula's one of my favorite people on this whole planet, and a colleague, and somebody I respect tremendously, the artistry and stuff, the collaborative. When she first, I knew Ursula when she didn't even have no kids. When she first had Sudan, she brought him, he was still little. And she brought him to my house, my mom and us to see and meet or whatever. And so throughout time, I've seen him grow. You know, it's just amazing. You got facial hair. But that's the cool part about being yourself and like when you walk in your destiny and stuff, and about being, I don't know what generation hip hop I am. It's the weirdest thing because when I was exposed to hip hop, I was real young. But then I came out in '96, so people say that's old school, but that's really the true school era. That's another thing we need to define. You know what I mean? I didn't come out with hip, 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 hip. I didn't come out, but I was a child when that was out. But you know what I'm saying? It's revisiting our historical, the lineage and stuff is still scrambled up. They still getting them parts together. But I remember, and I'm like, oh man, you know, so to be here, sitting here today, and being able to pay forward, hopefully, into some lives of some, you know, inspiring minds of up and coming new people and stuff. It's just dope. But coming from, imagine, I was exposed to hip hop when it wasn't even no videos out. I remember when it was only 2 DJs and not no girl DJs. Just how young hip hop is, only like 40 years old. So that's crazy, you know, to come from now and how you know how time has come now. So I've actually witnessed the unfolding of hip hop. So when I talk to my contemporaries, some of them more the pioneers, I clash with them sometimes. I feel like an eyeball because I'm open-minded enough to know that you have to embrace youth culture for where it stands at now. You know what I mean? Have to respect somebody's, you know, freedom of expression just like they did us. You know what I mean? And plus, cause I'm a prolific, so I don't even have a good conception of time unless I have an appointment or something like that. You know, I don't celebrate birthdays chronologically or anything like that. I just have to be reminded. Because youth and being alive is simultaneous for me, like the energies, like creative energy and sexual energy is. That's how I see things. So as long as you're doing the things that inspire you to become alive and vibrant, you always gonna have that youthful tone to you, and that's something that you should hold on to. You should never put yourself in a position where you're willing to, where you could potentially compromise and lose that. Because if you do, then you probably won't get that back. You know, you don't want to lose that. That's the core of who we are, who we all are. You know. He looked like Corrupt.
Other questions?
What do you want to do now?
What I want to do next, continue to be myself. Working on this. Well, I don't even know. I guess it's gonna be. I've been working on this book for so long. You, Saeed, know me. He know Saeed.
You know, I just
we
said
do.
meeting. I don't remember our meeting yet.
He just showed up. He just showed up. He just showed some divine appointments. I believe in that. I don't believe in coincidences. I can't remember. We showed up one day and we just clicked. He'll tell you, you know, I'm so many different. I've been so many different. But I was just telling Dave when we were having our chat before we began. I was like, you know, Taib, that's why when he called me, I come through, because I done been so many different things, and I used to be oh my God, y'all. Oh, some of the things, you know, some of the things that I used to be, you know, capable of doing and have done, I just didn't know no better, you know. I think it was more about me learning how to reel in my temperament and how to regulate the energy. Yeah. Oh, I used to be to the left, no gray area at all.
I remember
one of the.
When I was working for James Poyser, somebody said in the session, it was for Erica Badu's record, and somebody said in the session, like, we should get another MC on here. And they were kicking around names, and somebody said Bahamadia, and I was like,
They sure did.
And
sure did.
They got on the phone. Who else was on that track?
Yeah. Queen Latifah was on there, right? She sure was. Angie Stone, yeah. Because you know, that's another thing. When I record, I told you, after I did that's done out, and people be like, I'm like, oh, right. Sometimes I be forgetting on what they looking at. Oh, that's right, not me. Because you know, you doing what you do, I'll be forgetting. Right. Like, you know, I'm not a prisoner, I'm free. Like sometimes I'm so real, I'm like, well, I don't feel like it. I might look cute one day, you might see me all right, look, what's up, I'm still me. I don't feel like dialing up. I don't. You know. I'll be right. Remember, so I think one time we were on, you asked me what I was doing next though, finalizing the infrastructure to my nonprofit. Working on an app project because I had a series called Dialed Up that I do, where it's all music production and stuff like that on the handheld devices anywhere. Mm-hmm. I've been doing it for that for a while. What else? Solidify my label B-Door Records. And, you know, just being me. Globetrotting a little bit at my leisure. Yeah. You know, and the rest I'm just taking it, and I suppose because this doesn't escape me. These talks, and I guess this is the next phase, more speaking engagements.
I remember talking to you a couple of years ago, and you said that you wanted to do more speaking engagements.
No, I did.
Nonprofit.
It started too.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. This is an amazing platform. Thanks to everybody.
What's
Thank you.
what you mentioned that you are still like starting up your B Girl Records. What's your like goal or vision for that? Like what's gonna set that apart? Like
what's gonna set it apart is that it's gonna be like it's more about the implementation of a business model. Wow, I'm jumping in the business room, but I don't care. It's like more of a cooperative economics platform. You know, it should be a startup, and in theory, it should be. Everybody has a vision. One thing I learned about teamwork and being a part of teams is that, you know, everybody has a dream. Everybody has ambitions to be somebody. And everybody wants to be connected to something great, associated with something great. But you have to allow people to be individuals within the spectrum of that. You know, if people be loyal, if you treat people fairly, they'll do over what you expect them to do, what they're obligated to do, and that's what I learned. You know, so that piece right there, you know, you starting, you're start or whatever, paying forward in your situation. We break bread fairly and justly and move it out like that, because you want to kind of be an example of what you should do more times than not in that way. Plus, it's a paradigm shift now, so the old model is just like a wrap. I don't know nobody signing no 5-year deals and no crazy stuff. You don't have to do any of that now, you know. But if you do align with people that are knowledgeable, or that you want to be in a hub, if you will, you still should be allowed the flexibility to move around. You should be allowed to do that, you know, without fear of people jumping ship. You know what I mean? Give them the lane. Because what's this saying? If you give a man a fish,
You feed him for a day. If you teach him to fish, you feed him for a
right,
day.
right. That's a new paradigm. We've been here, though. Look at this space. This is an example of that. On the East Coast, usually you'll see it on the West Coast, but I was very impressed. But then Ty Ryan, he a forward thinker, so I knew it was going to be something dope. You know what I mean? But everybody here, like all of us, we operate in the similar rung of the same kind of energy. So we're all world changed. I know I confidently say that because you only draw the things you possess, and I know who I am. So I know that we're all an extension of ourselves and that energy in this space right now. You know.
Lamont.
Do you still do music though? Like,
Of course I do.
So you
What
still
you
got
listening to
a
me,
cool
Lamont, with your
16
fly jacket? What you listening to me?
Huh?
I said, when you listening to me with your fly jacket, I love your coat.
No, I was listening to you. I'm saying, so you still got a cool 16 in you though. Like, how was that process for
A
you?
16? People still do 16s?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Because me, I always rapped until I just was done. Right. I never, you know?
I was just asking, but so how is it for you like now, since like the music industry is like very watered down, do you still be inspired? Especially like the females, there's not that many hot females anymore.
First of all, I am hip hop, so you know everybody in here is an extension of that expression and energy. So and I set the pace for that, being a tastemaker. So I've never paid any attention to what the trends or what anybody is doing to assess my respective fields. You know, you should study to show yourself approved. So I'm supposed to know whoever the current people are. I'm supposed to know about these people because that's my respective field. But as far as my creative process, like I've always been ahead of the curve because I've never paid attention to any rules. I feel like I set them myself for what I do.
It's not so much paying attention. I mean, I feel like it's watered down. Like back then you had real rappers, like, you know, just say Jada, Kid Styles, Big, Beanie Siegel. You don't have that content. And other people make you want to go harder. So it's a lack of that nowadays. I'm saying, do that. It's like, how do you feel about that?
But you're talking about the culture of hip hop and MCing as opposed to the business of music again. Remember we talked about the mainstream. I didn't say that term. Mainstream as opposed to lifestyle. Those are two totally distinct.
I'm not talking about lifestyle. I'm talking about just bars, like writing material.
That's what you're talking about, though. You're talking about pure from the purest standpoint.
Right.
You said Jada Kiss and who else did you just say?
Beanie.
And Styles. Yeah, that's the lifestyle people. We're people that are authentically into their craft, into the core of what MCN is about, right? That's the lifestyle. But from a commercial standpoint, how do I feel about it? I don't feel any type of way about it because I understand the both paradigms. I understand the business of music, which is what's being exploited on the mainstream and all the mass media outlets, and I understand the lifestyle and culture of hip hop globally. So you just find a lane of what's important to you. If you want to do music that you deem to be of substance and quality and that adheres to, you know, the culture of hip hop, then you're gonna have to be an independent artist and put your own music out. But if you want to be successful on the mainstream outlet and follow those traditional formats that's out there and the structure that's out there to support that kind of art, then you're going to have to conform in some way. For me, that just wasn't the route. You know what I mean? And I don't feel any type of way about it because, to me, it depends on the individual and what they're willing to compromise about themselves and what their personal goals are. You know, and people say conscious rap, you know, but everybody in here is conscious of something. You know, it's just not, I mean, what are we conscious of? You know, you could be conscious of different forms of spirituality. You could be conscious of, you know, being in an impoverished situation. You could be conscious of being in a very affluent situation. That doesn't mean you don't have the right to express yourself from that perspective, as long as it's authentic, you know. I mean, even the climate of success for these so-called people that are not deemed as real rappers or whatever than the entertainers though. And there's a distinct difference between being an artist and an entertainer as well. You know? So I just think that, you know, it's a personal choice, and for me, it's about my destiny though. You know, I know it to be true. People you named, I feel is their destiny. It's about their destiny and their life's work as well. Because you're sustained in there, like the truth is always sustained. I hope I'm answering your question.
Oh, you good?
So I'm gonna let Steve, because you had your hand up for a second. So this will be the last because we way over.
Oh,
Yeah, but I will also say, just like we said with Yusef earlier, so you got their social media, you got ways to contact. Don't be shy about that. So if you know, if cats come in and you're able to grab them while they're here, great. But we could also go on forever, right? So we got to cut it off at some point. I'm gonna blame it on Eric to give me no, I'm just playing. No. We want to make sure we want to be respectful of artists' time as well. So Steve, go ahead.
Kind of lost a little bit of it, but it basically was about like sustainability. Being an artist myself, a lot of times I see like, or I'll think about my trajectory and think about, all right, well, if I have this song or this album that touches a lot of people and can generate a lot of income, it's just like I don't really think past that. And so seeing where you are now, and you know, you're talking about, you know, starting your own record label and things like that, and writing a book. Are you currently using those outlets to generate a sustainable income now, or are you also leaning on the successes and things that you've had to, you know, kind of live and thrive day to day?
once you sow the seeds, they're perpetual, so they're always growing. So I'm actually still living off the fruits of my labor from 19, whenever I first came out. Number one. Number two, the publishing and stuff like that. There are many different ways you can monetize your art sheet. That's why it's important for you to own your intellectual property. You know, like I still get calls for, you know, HBO, different people. Man, it's like, what's that girl's name that did Selma? Ava. I'm sorry, Ava. I'm sorry. Ava, you know, brain freeze. But Ava, like, the last, what's it, Sugar?
Queen Sugar.
They just licensed one of my songs. So, but I get paid several times because I'm the writer, the publisher, and, you know, associated with the master and stuff like that. So that's why I support for, you know, that's where the business of music comes in there. You know, you monetize, so many different ways you can monetize your artistry. You know what I mean? And ever since 1996, we ain't talking about like shows. You know, I still get booked. It's not nostalgic stuff neither. You know, at my leisure, like if I feel like performing, you know. That's crazy. Even when I'm thinking about it, because again, when I look around, these all new faces. When I'm on the bill with people that's up and coming, that's telling me that my mom put you there. I'm like, oh, word. I don't be feeling old. I'll be like, oh, okay. You really know what's up. If you on this bill, you got to know what's up, you know. But the cool part about it is that the diversity that you exposed to, but your mind got to be open to, your mind and your spirit got to be open to not conforming, but to adapting to the times. Because if not, you won't evolve. You're going to be still stuck. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, that's crazy. But yeah, that's how you do it. You want to find as many outlets. And now, especially with you guys, like, y'all demographic really good with the marketing and branding and all that. Y'all real good with that. So just pairing up with cool brands and stuff like that, you can find your lanes. Whatever anybody in here is doing, whatever you do in your day-to-day, the stuff you put in your hair, the stuff you eat, all that stuff, that's your demographic. Those your product. Those are people you giving y'all a jewel. Don't waste it. That's all it is. All you're doing is you really exploiting your own lifestyle and your own perspective. That's all you're doing. You know, so that I don't strategically say I'm gonna get Nike. I don't wear Nike. I don't be wearing Nike. I'm nothing wrong with Nike though, because if y'all want to open me up, that's what's up. That's some sweatshop stuff. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, like, just generally saying, like, whatever you're doing, there's some people out there that's checking for you. Because they want lifestyle people. This is what we do. That's dope, though, that you can actually make a grip off of just being yourself. Yeah. You see these advertising people, like, especially as a tastemaker, like, You know how many people that's Fortune 500 companies that's following little Bahamadia? I thought I was a rap though. For mainstream standard, I ain't, what does, I can't stand this term when they say relevant and all this stuff. Because you're always relevant somewhere, you always are relevant. But, well, if I ain't relevant, then why y'all looking at why y'all following me and stuff? Why y'all want, you know?
Just to give some contextualization, to speak, you know, because we tuned yesterday.
Yeah, they sure did.
I probably even 5, 10 years ago, I couldn't have imagined that. And if you look at the climate, how people, I hear a lot of people joking about trap rap, and mumble rap, and all these different things. But if you look at who commands like stadium tours, or who commands international partnerships, or if you look at like who Apple and Samsung partner with, the people who have a classic brand that stands the test of time.
Yeah.
So short money doesn't always make sense.
Exactly.
Right? So that you can come out and become a single artist, and people think, you know, because you might make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. But if you're that joke artist, if you're a single artist, there's no real way to have an art and still be relevant in 10, 15 years. Right. Unless you're
Still
going
be
to,
viable.
Yeah.
Still be viable in the market. But legacy artists, it's a really interesting thing with people that came out in the 90s or whatever, because that energy has come 180 now. You know, so basically, especially when I first came out, that was the last, for mainstream outlets, that was the last era where individuality was authentically actually embraced and encouraged in industries across the board. You know, but I guess it ran its gamut, so now it's back. You know, so all we had to do, our hard job was sustaining ourselves by standing our ground and evolving with the time. Like, you can't think that you're going to be coming out in some 2017 sound like you did in the 90s. Like, come on now. You know, like, Premier, you better had aligned yourself with somebody that's doing an extension of what your energy was when you first came out. You know, for me, I'm going to assess, like, whoever I'm supposed to, you know, be paying forward or aligning myself up with. I'm supposed to know. You're supposed to know when your sound evolves, too. You know what I mean? You're supposed to know that. So, but it was a pleasure talking to everybody, and I wish the best for everybody here.
Thank you.
And Saeed and crew, thank you so much, Elizabeth and everybody. Oh, man, Joanne.